This lesson is for Unit 3, Lesson 3, Adding and Subtracting Polynomials. So when you're adding polynomials, we want to make sure that the terms that we're adding have like terms. So the variables match and the exponents match. So we want to make sure we would be adding an a plus an a, or an a squared plus an a squared. If the variables and the exponents don't match exactly, then you can't actually combine them together. Looking at this example, since the two terms are separated out by addition, all of the signs of those numbers are going to stay the same. So this would be the same, even though they're grouped with parentheses, this would be the same as 5b squared minus 3b plus 2, and then plus a 2b, and then minus 4. So when we're combining like terms, when we're adding things, we can only add those that are the same. So when I'm looking at this, I can see this minus 3b and this plus 2b both have matching variables. I can combine those together. But watch for the symbol in front. This is subtracting 3b. So like a negative 3b plus 2. When I add those two together, a negative 3b plus 2b, it's like a negative 3 plus 2. So there's no terms that match 5b squared, so my answer is going to have a 5b squared. And then a negative 3 plus 2 would make this a minus b. And then I have a plus 2 and a minus 4. Think of it as a positive 2 and a negative 4, or 2 minus 4 would make this a minus 2. And this would be our answer because I can't add 5b squared with the other b. So I've got another example. Since it's separated out by addition between these two chunks, you can just break them apart. Basically just drop those parentheses. So you'd have 6y cubed minus 4y squared plus 7. And then you're adding each of the next terms. So plus 3y cubed plus y squared plus a negative 2y, or just minus 2y, and then plus a minus 5 can be written as minus 5. So again, we want to combine like terms. So if we start all the way on the left, 6y cubed, I'm looking for any other terms that have a y cubed. So this one's y squared, this one's a constant, this one's y cubed. So I'm going to be adding a plus 3y cubed with a 6y cubed. 6 plus 3 makes that 9y cubed. And now we have a negative 4y squared. That subtraction goes with the 4. So a minus 4y squared. And I'm going to change colors just to group the different terms. So a minus 4y squared. And we have a plus y squared. Think of this as plus 1y squared. So a negative 4 plus 1 would make that a negative 3y squared. We have a 7 and a minus 2y and a minus 5. This minus 2y can't be added with anything, so we'd write it as a minus 2y. And then for our last one, we have a plus 7 and a minus 5. Think of it as 7 minus 5. That equals a positive 2. So this would be our answer. We can't simplify it any further from there. Now, subtraction is a little bit different. You're still subtracting, but this is where the subtraction is important because you want to make sure you subtract both terms that are in that second group. So this first one will stay the same, just as 6x minus 3, but we're subtracting a 2x, so minus 2x, and we're subtracting a negative 2. When you subtract a negative, it's like adding a positive. So it's actually plus 2. Another way of thinking of this is if this was like a negative 1 and you use your distributive property. So negative 1 times 2x, that's how we get a minus 2x. And a negative 1 times a negative 2, a negative times a negative makes it a positive 2. So that's just another way of thinking about it, just to make sure that you're subtracting each term. And it's also, you will see later with more terms, but it's like you're changing the sign of every single term in that second grouping. But I'll show you that in just a second. So now we have a 6x minus 2x, 6 minus 2, so 4x. And then we have a negative 3 or a minus 3 plus 2. That would make it a negative 1. So 4x minus 1 is how this one combines. In this example, you can see that there's more terms in that second one. When you subtract, it's like changing the sign of everything. So if we have 2a squared minus 3ab plus 5b squared, you're going to subtract the first term. Subtracting a negative makes it adding that second term. And then subtracting a 3b squared, we subtract 3b squared. When you subtract each term, you can think of it as multiplying through that negative, so it changes the sign of each of those terms. A squared was positive, now it's subtracted. It was minus 2ab, now it's plus 2ab. And it was plus 3b squared, now it's minus 3b squared. So when you're subtracting, it's like changing the sign of each of those terms or multiplying through that negative. Now to combine like terms, I have a 2a squared here that could be combined with this minus a squared. Think of this as minus 1a squared. So 2 minus 1 leaves us with a positive a squared. And then we have this minus 3ab with a plus 2ab. So a negative 3 plus 2 would make this minus 1ab or minus ab, because negative 3 plus 2 is a negative 1. And then we have a 5b squared and a minus 3b squared. 5 minus 3 is a minus 2b squared. And this one we already combined. So here is our answer. A squared minus ab minus 2b squared.